Yeah, we're not gonna be here long after this. I think it's about streams acting up again. We got about an hour in. Yeah, I think it's about ready to wrap things up here. So there's just a couple of things I have to say about the team, and then we're gonna end the stream here because it's clear as day. The stream it's gonna be another day of acting up as we continue to deal with these problems, which I can't do nothing about it. It is what it is. It is what it is. Continue to cannot continue to do anything past that. Um, yeah, let's hope this holds up so I can say my final piece about this game and then stuff moving forward, and we'll go from there. So yeah, sorry about that. Again, stream's acting up again. Can't do nothing about it. So we're gonna say our piece here. I'm gonna wrap up quickly and then we'll just call it a day. So unfortunately, we're not gonna be here much longer because I feel like the stream's gonna cut off. So let me not waste any more time. Let's wrap things up. Ravens won the game 24-0. Defense was sensational. Best defensive performance of the season. Best defensive performance of the Zachary Orr era. Best defensive performance overall the last 2 years. Pitching a shutout against Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is insane. Doing that in Cincinnati is even more insane. Defense balled out and dominated. Offensively, they did their job. Ravens offensively looked pretty good. Lamar Jackson put up the best performance he's had so far over the last month, so that's good. And if you've been paying attention, the healthier Lamar Jackson has gotten, the more comfortable he's gotten, the better he has looked out on the field. He wasn't bad last week against the Steelers. It's just things didn't go our way because of the mistakes that were being made, the touchdown that got taken away, which ultimately probably would have won us the game. But that's beside the point. Lamar, the healthier he's getting, the more you're starting to see him utilize his legs, the better off he's starting to look, the more improved he's starting to look, the better his game is starting to look. So this was the best performance from Lamar Jackson in a month. He's looking fine. He's getting healthier. That's great to see Lamar getting healthier down the stretch because against New England and against Green Bay, you're going to need him to be at his best. So it's good to see Lamar Jackson getting healthy again. The Ravens running back duo of Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell once again dominated. It continues to bug me in regards to this duo as to the reasoning behind not having this duo play together much earlier in the season. It continues to bug me that they waited this long to utilize both running backs. They should have been doing this way earlier in the season and they would have been better off, but they waited way too long. At the end of the day, they're here now. They're utilizing this duo. They should have been from like week 1 or so, but they should have been utilized this duo of Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. I said in the offseason this could be thunder and lightning, and they didn't want to utilize Keaton Mitchell. They waited too long. Now they're utilizing him. It is what it is. We'll take it. As long as they continue to utilize both of them, we're going to be fine with the running game. Running game was great last week. Running game was great today. Lamar is getting better. Offense is performing better. Zay Flowers played well, but he would have had 2 touchdowns and probably 100 yards receiving if he could just make the plays and catch the ball consistently enough. And then after that, offensive line didn't really look great in pass protection. They were inconsistent. Run blocking, they actually did their job. Derrick Henry had 3 20-plus yard runs. Keaton Mitchell had 2 20-plus yard runs. So they did great in run blocking. They were still inconsistent in pass protection. I don't really trust this offensive line to protect Lamar Jackson, but it is what it is. Overall, the Ravens did their job, got a dominant win in Cincinnati, keep their season alive. They now have 3 games left. They have nobody they need to rely on. Baltimore wins their final 3 games. They win the AFC North and they make the playoffs. It's as simple as that. They know it. They control their own destiny. They win out. They win the division and they go to the playoffs and they host a home playoff game. So it's up to them. They don't need help from anybody. They don't need the Steelers to lose this game or lose that game. Baltimore wins their final 3 games. They're in the postseason. Simple as that. So the ball's in their court. They got New England next week, Sunday Night Football at the bank. We'll see what they do. Baltimore's been bad in primetime this year. They got embarrassed on primetime by the Lions. They got manhandled by the Lions. They choked against the Bills. So week 1, it was Sunday Night Football. They choked against the Bills, had a 15-point lead. They were giving them the belt for damn near 40 minutes. Choked. Not even 4 minutes. They were giving them the belt for 50 to 55 minutes. The last 5 minutes of the game, they choked a 15-point lead. So they choked on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football against the Lions, they got manhandled. And then on Thanksgiving, they embarrassed themselves, turned the ball over 5 times, and lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. We've been bad on primetime. And now we got back-to-back primetime games at home against New England, on the road next week at Green Bay. And it's going to be a short week because we play Sunday Night Football, and then we play Sunday Night Football at the bank against the Patriots. Then we got to play Saturday night at Green Bay. Short week. So that's not going to be fun. But, it is what it is. And depending on how things go between the Steelers and the Ravens, that final matchup in Pittsburgh, Week 18, that could also be a primetime game because it's probably going to be for the division. So don't make that a primetime game. Baltimore may end up playing 3 primetime games to end the season. Just be prepared for that. Primetime game against the Patriots, primetime game against the Packers, potential primetime game for the division in Pittsburgh. And we do end our final home game will be next Sunday against the Patriots. Our final 2 games of the season at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh. So if the Ravens are going to get another home game, it would have to be a home playoff game where they make the playoffs by winning the division. So it comes down to these last 3 games. You could hope, if Ravens fans want to sit back and say this, we could hope Miami beats them, and then we can hope Miami beats the Steelers on Monday night, and then next week they got the Detroit Lions. We can hope the Lions whoop on the Steelers as well. So they can lose 2 straight games and we'll be A-okay. But we're not here to talk about what other teams need to do. Baltimore controls their destiny. They win these final 3 games, they're in no matter what. There's nothing Pittsburgh can do. There's nothing anybody else can do. The Baltimore Ravens will win the division if they win their final 3 games. They have the tiebreaker over the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have the tiebreaker. Baltimore and Pittsburgh could ultimately end up with the same final record in the division. They can end up with similar records at 10-7. They can end up with similar divisional records at 4-2. Baltimore has the tiebreaker. So Baltimore does not need any help to make the playoffs. They beat New England. They beat Green Bay. They beat Pittsburgh. They win the AFC North. Ball's in their court. They already know. Ball is in their court. If they don't make the playoffs, it's because they didn't get it done. Simple as that. If they don't make the playoffs, it's because they didn't get it done in their final 3 games. They go 3-0, they're fine. Fun fact, because they threw this out there, they were talking about both Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has never, from weeks 15 through 18, Lamar has never lost. He is 10-0 in his career. From week 15 on, he's never lost a football game from week 15 on. He was 10-0, now he's 11-0. So Lamar don't know what it feels like to lose a football game past week 15 because that's money time. That's the time you got to lock in and win these games to clinch a playoff spot. Every time we've needed to clinch a playoff spot in these moments with Lamar Jackson, we've done it. 2020, we needed to win in Cleveland and win these final games in Cincinnati and stuff. We did it. 2023, last year. Well, no, 2023, we needed to win against the Jaguars. We needed to beat the Dolphins to make sure we could clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. We did it. 2024, we had to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 16, we wanted to take this division from them. We had to beat the Steelers. We did it. At the end of the day, from weeks 15 on, Lamar has never lost a football game in these moments. These are moments that matter, yet they always say he doesn't win big games. Yet in these crucial moments where you got to win the division, or you got to make the playoffs, or you got to get the number 1 seed, we've always answered the call. But Lamar has never won big games. I guess so. Anytime Lamar wins, it's not a big game. When he loses, it's a big game. We get how it is. You can push your agendas however you want to. But that's beside the point right now. Baltimore controls their destiny. 3 games left. Win all 3. You make the playoffs. You see what happens. But that's pretty much it for me here when it comes to this game. I already spent the past hour talking about it. The stream cut off, so I'm trying to wrap this up before the stream cuts off again. But there's one last thing we do need to discuss. This was ultimately mentioned here, and I want to make sure I check on this properly. We have a couple injuries here. Um, we have a couple injuries to worry about. Number one, Teddy Buchanan, who's been having a pretty damn good rookie year. You know, has been making plays. He's been getting good tackles. Teddy Buchanan suffered a knee injury in this game and was taken out. He suffered a knee injury, and reports came out after the game that the knee injury could be serious. The fear is Teddy Buchanan may have torn his ACL. Nothing's been confirmed yet. We'll get more information when it comes out. But the fear is Teddy Buchanan has torn his ACL. That's just fantastic. That's just I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's just how things go. Now you're gonna be down a linebacker, and a linebacker that was playing well for you. You're gonna be down a linebacker. Nothing you could nothing you could do about that. So that's how that is. That's number one. Teddy Buchanan might have suffered a torn ACL, but we'll get more information about that tomorrow when they check on it. The report will probably come out tomorrow that he has torn his ACL. If we're lucky and a miracle happens and he doesn't tear it, we'll be happy and say hallelujah. But the fear is right now torn ACL. Today has been a brutal day. Mahomes tears his ACL. Micah Parsons might have torn his ACL, and it looks like Teddy Buchanan might have also torn his ACL. But more information will come out about that. That's number one. Number two, Chidobe Awuzie suffered a foot injury and had to leave this game as well. So he suffers a foot injury. He ends up missing the rest of this game. He was questionable to return, but ultimately he does not return. There is no actual assessment about Chidobe Awuzie's foot injury. They're going to probably do some tests on it. Harbaugh said we're going to know more information about that injury tomorrow. But if that's another significant injury, that's a heavy blow because Chidobe Awuzie has been having a great season for the Ravens. Awuzie has been one of the best corners for us this year. He's done a fantastic job, and that guy has been locked down all year. So if Chidobe Awuzie's foot injury is significant and he ends up missing significant time, that's going to be a big loss. If he is able to come back, that's going to be great, but we don't know. Ted Buchanan might be out with an ACL. Chidobe Awuzie, there's going to be more tests done, so we'll have that figured out tomorrow. Prayers up that the worst case scenario is not hit. Hopefully, Buchanan has not torn his ACL, and Awuzie's foot injury is not significant, but it could be, and we could potentially be down both Awuzie and Buchanan heading into the final weeks of the season. Last but not least, Ronnie Stanley had suffered an injury because there was a player that landed on his leg, and he had suffered a bit of an injury as well. Harbaugh did report that when it came to Ronnie Stanley, it was a minor injury, and he's A-okay. So Ronnie Stanley's going to be fine, at least according to Harbaugh. It's nothing too major. It's something minor, but Ronnie Stanley should be fine. I don't know if he's going to miss practice or not this week, but according to Harbaugh, he should be fine. It's nothing significant. It's nothing season-ending or nothing major like that, but he's fine. So the injuries we suffered, Ronnie Stanley's going to be fine. Chidobe Awuzie will have to wait for the test on the foot, and Teddy Buchanan might have torn his ACL, but we'll have to wait until they do tests, and we'll get the report about this tomorrow. That's unfortunate. I don't exactly. When it comes to Chidobe Awuzie, I don't know what we're gonna do with that situation because what are we gonna do? I guess at that point we got to play TJ Tampa. Let him rest Monday. Well, they're not gonna practice on Monday, so we ain't gonna. He's gonna rest. They're not practicing on Monday, so Ronnie's not gonna be practicing Monday. No one practices on Monday. They just played yesterday. So I think the earliest we would see maybe Tuesday or Wednesday when they be on the practice field. They may rest him on Wednesday depending on the situation. So no one's practicing tomorrow. But yeah, these injuries are tough. If we lose Chidobe Awuzie, that means TJ Tampa is going to become one of our starters, and he has to step up. Because with your corners, you have Humphrey, you have Wiggins, and then now you're going to have to utilize TJ Tampa. So yeah. Let me actually take a actually let me look at the our depth chart here and see who else we could probably use. Um this is how the depth chart always seems to work out for the Ravens. Taking a look at the cornerback situation right now. Um yeah, it's gonna be TJ Tampa. TJ Tampa is essentially going to take over now because you got Nate Wiggins on the other side. Nate Wiggins is fine. You have Marlon Humphrey. TJ Tampa is going to become a starter now. If Chidobe Awuzie is if this is a significant injury, TJ Tampa takes over the starting role, and at that point you're going to have to use Keon Martin if he's available. But I think Keon Martin also is dealing with an injury as well. Yeah, he's actually out as well. Actually, no, I don't think we don't have any corners. Robert Longerbeam is on IR. Cone is also on IR. We got two corners on IR. Keon Martin's also hurt. TJ Tampa's healthy. You know, this might become a situation where they're going to play three safeties and somebody's going to have to play in the nickel spot. If they don't have any corners, the good news is you got our Darius Washington back. Worst case scenario, they're gonna play TJ Tampa in there, but if they need depth, they could end up utilizing our Darius Washington on the field. They could use three safeties. Well, they can end up using four safeties, and somebody's got to play the nickel spot. I want to see Starks at corner and have a Darius out there. I don't know how they're gonna make it work, but you've got four safeties now. Our Darius Washington's back and he's healthy. He did make a play in this game too, so you may have to run four safeties and somebody's going to play a nickel spot because you could have, at this point, you're going to have Wiggins. You're going to have to probably move Marlon Humphrey to play more outside. You could still use TJ Tampa, but there's probably going to be times where they're going to rotate things. So it's getting tough out here. The depth chart's not looking good for the Ravens every year. This is why no matter what happens, you keep seeing EDC draft corners and bring corners in because every year the Ravens end up losing corners. And by the end of the year, they have no depth at the cornerback spot. And that's why DeCosta continues to focus on that cornerback spot. So yeah, it's getting rough out here. If Chidobe Awuzie's foot injury is significant, he may be out, but we'll just have to wait and see. As for Teddy Buchanan, Baltimore would be fine with the linebacking situation. That just means Trent Simpson gets back to he becomes a starter once again. If Buchanan's out for the season, Simpson gets his spot back, which I'm not keen on that because Trent Simpson was just terrible out there. There's a reason why Teddy Buchanan took his job because Trent Simpson was not great out there, and Buchanan worked really well next to Roquan Smith. So the Buchanan loss is going to be huge because that just means there's going to be even more missed tackles. Losing Teddy Buchanan is going to be a whole load of missed tackles because I don't want to see Trent Simpson back out there as a starter. He didn't perform well as a starter. Teddy Buchanan performed better than him, and he worked better with Roquan Smith out there. But if Teddy Buchanan is now torn his ACL, Roquan Smith is now going to be partner up with Trent Simpson once again. And that means Simpson's going to have to step up, which he obviously won't. But yeah. So they do have replacements. If Buchanan's out, Simpson becomes a starter. If Awuzie is out, TJ Tampa becomes a starter. So they have depth there, but this team's stretched thin. They can't really afford any more injuries. They legitimately cannot afford any other injuries. But it is what it is. We'll just see. I'm fine with the injuries I'm fine with that injuries happen. Injuries happen, but these could potentially be season-ending injuries, so there's nothing you can do. So, injuries are going to happen, man. You're right, but it seems like these could be significant injuries, long-term injuries, potentially season-ending injuries. We don't know. But that's pretty much it here. Wow, it's halftime and Minnesota and Dallas are tied. Dallas can't really afford to lose this game. What's happening here? J.J. McCarthy, 8 of 13, 142 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Dak, 10 of 18, 120, no touchdowns, no pick. CeeDee Lamb, 3 catches for 51 yards. George Pickens, 1 catch for 10 yards. They got to change that up. Jordan Addison, 2 catches, 66 yards. Justin Jefferson, 1 catch, 12 yards. They got to change that up too. It's a 17-17 game here. JJ McCarthy also has a rushing touchdown. So the two touchdowns in this game have both been JJ McCarthy. He has a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. That's good there. So we'll see what happens with that game. But for the Ravens here, yeah, I mean, they won the game. They control their own destiny, but things are getting tight now because it looks like these injuries are going to start to pile up here. And with these injuries starting to pile up, it's going to be very problematic. It is going to be very problematic. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool right there. Um, Nothing really else to say here about the Ravens. This has pretty much been the recap, so I'm gonna head on out of here. Uh, in terms of a discussion about the AFC, I'm probably gonna do that either tomorrow or phone call. What now? Hello. Uh-huh. Can it fit in there? I don't know. I just wasn't sure. Okay. Uh-huh. What's up, Loyal? How you doing, bro? Um, Loyal. I don't know. Tomorrow or Tuesday, you want to pull up on the stream because I think it's finally with the Chiefs officially eliminated. It's time to talk about everybody's chances in the AFC. The AFC is wide open. Everybody that's in the playoff race right now, we got to talk about their Super Bowl chances because when you take a look at everybody right now, everybody's got a great chance. Everybody's got a great chance. I have my own personal Super Bowl pick, and I have my dark horse. If you've paid attention to the streams, you know who my Super Bowl pick is. I said this a month ago. I said that's the team that could beat Kansas City. Now that Kansas City's out, I double down and say that is the team that's going to make it out of the AFC. I'll bring it up again when we do the discussion video, but I am going to talk about every single team right now in the AFC that is competing for a playoff spot, and we're going to discuss their playoff chances. So that means we're going to talk about the AFC South, and there needs to be some credit. There needs to be some credit that is given to some of those AFC South teams because nobody is willing to give these guys a thought. Now, the Texans, because of their defense, the Texans are starting to get the respect they deserve. So that could ultimately be something here. But we have to talk about the AFC race now because Kansas City's out, and with the Chiefs officially being eliminated, it's wide open. The Chiefs will not be representing the AFC this year. They will not be in the AFC Championship this year. So it is wide open. We're going to discuss this a little bit more, probably tomorrow or Tuesday. But right now, Denver has the number 1 seed in the AFC, number 2 seed Patriots, Jaguars at 3, Steelers at 4, the Chargers at 5, the Bills at 6, the Texans at 7, Colts at 8, Ravens at 9, Dolphins at 10. There's 10 teams left in the AFC that is still competing for a playoff spot, and we're going to speak on every single team's chance to make a run in the postseason. So this is going to be big. I'll be here to discuss this probably tomorrow. Yeah, Monday Night Football, so it'll probably be a good time to talk about that because the Dolphins and Steelers will be playing in. If the Dolphins lose that game, their chance if the Dolphins lose, I don't think they'll be eliminated, but they'll be actually no, if they go to 6-8, they may be eliminated. If the Dolphins lose tomorrow, they may be eliminated. If the Dolphins win, they still have a shot. If the Steelers lose, they'll stay in first place because they have the divisional tiebreaker over the Ravens. If they lose, they'll stay in first and stay at that 4th seed. If they win, they'll go to 8-6. which actually makes things very interesting here because at the end of the day, like I said, Baltimore just needs to win out and they win the AFC North. But every single team right now has a chance to go do something in the postseason, and the AFC's wide open. So I'll talk about everybody's chances, everybody. So Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars, Steelers, Chargers, Bills, Texans. We'll talk about the Colts if they can potentially making it and what they could do if they make it there. Same for the Ravens, same for the Dolphins. So we'll talk about everybody's chances in the AFC. Oh, Colts on the tiebreak over Miami. Man, their chances of making it is very low. But the Colts are on the downward spiral since Daniel Jones tore his ACL. So, yeah. But we'll be in the discussion to speak on everybody in the AFC in terms of their chances to make the Super Bowl or to go on a run in the AFC. So I think everybody has a case, whether it's a strong case or a weak case, everybody has a case. So we'll play the what if games. What if they make for the teams that are on the bubble, the Colts, Ravens, and Dolphins? Could they make the playoffs? What needs to be done for them to make the playoffs? And if they do make the playoffs, what they'll do. In terms of the teams that are in the hunt right now, currently in the playoffs, or in the hunt, we'll talk about them. The Broncos clinched the playoff spot. They are the number 1 seed. They're probably going to keep that number 1 spot since the Patriots lost. They probably may end up getting the number 1 seed in the AFC this year. We'll see. But, we'll discuss everyone's chances in the AFC because I feel like this is a wide open conference this year. No Kansas City. Everyone would immediately flock to Buffalo and say this is their year now. But in all honesty, I'm looking at the AFC wide open. And I think there's a fair chance that, you take a look at these teams in the AFC. I think it's a fair chance that any of these guys could potentially make the Super Bowl. As much as people want to look at Buffalo's not a powerhouse team. They're carried by Josh Allen and James Cook. If Allen and Cook don't play the way they're playing, this team is not winning these games. And even with that, they're not going to be perfect. Like, the Bills are being carried by Allen and Cook in that offense because their defense stinks. The Texans are dominating with their defense, and their offense is at least starting to show up. The Chargers have been playing they've been playing somewhat consistent football, but, their defense is really doing a good job in carrying them, and their offense, they're still trying to figure things out without an offensive line. And you just had Justin Herbert coming back from a surgery for his hand. So, yeah. Patriots, Broncos, we have a conversation. Even the Jaguars, we have to speak on the Jaguars as well. Everybody's got a chance here in the AFC, even the Ravens, even though I don't think they're going to do anything, even if they do make the playoffs. Everybody has a chance. So we will absolutely be talking about everybody's chances in the AFC. We'll go into that tomorrow. But 1 playoff spot's officially been clinched. There's 6 playoff spots left. There's 3 games left after tonight and Monday night. So there's 3 weeks left in the season, 3 games left. Teams that are, looking to make the playoffs and clinch it. I think by week 17, the bubble teams will, again, with the way the Colts are falling down, I think the Colts are going to miss the playoffs. Dolphins have a shot, but I think the Dolphins are also going to miss the playoffs. Honestly, I think the playoff spots are set. I think Patriots are definitely going to make the playoffs. Jaguars are definitely going to make the playoffs. Steelers are definitely going to make the playoffs. Not the Steelers, excuse me. Patriots, Jaguars definitely going to make the playoffs. Chargers at this point going to make the playoffs. Bills at this point going to make the playoffs. Texans, it's still open because of the AFC South being wide open and the Colts still having a chance, but I think the Texans are going to make the playoffs. If you ask me, the only playoff spot that's available is the Steelers and Ravens, and we are going to figure that out by week 18. I think everybody else in the playoff hunt right now is going to make it. The Colts are on a downward spiral without Daniel Jones. They're going to keep losing games. The Dolphins are trying to keep hope alive, but their chances of making the playoffs are little to none because they don't really have tiebreakers, and the Ravens' only chances of making the playoffs is by winning the division, because they don't have a tiebreaker against the Texans. They don't have a tiebreaker against the Bills. They would need the Chargers to fall off. And even if the Chargers fall off, the Chargers would finish the season 10-7. Baltimore would have to finish the season 10-7. And I don't think they have a tiebreaker against the Chargers. So Baltimore's only path to the playoffs is through winning the AFC North. The Ravens have to win the AFC North to make the postseason this year. The Colts, they have to win out to make the playoffs. The Dolphins need a lot. So we'll see what happens here. Honestly, I think the playoffs are set. The playoffs are absolutely set right now. I don't think anything's changing here. The playoffs are set in the AFC. When you look at the NFC, Chicago is going to make the playoffs. Philadelphia is going to win their division. Buccaneers is the one that's open because the Panthers are 7-7 and the Bucs are 7-7. The Seahawks are going to make the playoffs. The Niners are going to make the playoffs. The Packers, it's open, but they swept the Lions. The Lions do not have a tiebreaker over them. I think Green Bay is going to make the playoffs. And the Lions lost today. So Detroit's going to miss the playoffs. Detroit's going to miss the playoffs. The Panthers, looking at this right now, I think there's only 2 playoff spots left. If I'm going to be realistic here, do I think the Ravens will do good in the playoffs? No. I'm sorry. You said, do I think they can? Yeah, they can do good in the playoffs. Do I think they will? No. I don't think I think the Ravens can do good in the playoffs. I don't think they will, though. Can they do good in the playoffs? Yeah. And I'll talk about this tomorrow when it comes to everybody's playoff chances in the AFC. And I'll talk about everyone's playoff chances in the NFC. We'll talk about everybody's playoff chances that are in the race still. So, I think the Ravens can do a good job in the playoffs. Will they do a great job? No. I don't have confidence in this team. You got to be consistent. This is not a consistent football team. I mean, unless we're hoping that they're the 2011 Giants, I don't see how they're going to go on a magical run to the Super Bowl. It's possible this year because the AFC is wide open, but realistically, this team has been inconsistent. Now, if the defense catches fire, the way the defense played today, if they play like that down the stretch, if they play like that against the Patriots, play like that against the Steelers, play like that against the Packers, and Lamar, who's getting healthier and healthier, if he returns to form, sure. Lamar returns to form, the defense returns to form, they win the division, they got a shot to do something in the playoffs. But realistically, with the way they've been inconsistent this year, even if they do win the AFC North, I still don't see them doing anything. Based on how things are going to go, the Chargers are holding on to that spot. But I'm telling you right now, one way or another, I still think one way or another, I think the Bills are going to get the 5th seed. So I think it's set up for a potential Ravens-Bills wildcard matchup in Baltimore. I don't see the Ravens winning that game. Mahomes tore his ACL, so obviously he's going to have to go through rehab and surgery. So best of luck to Mahomes there. But taking a look at this realistically here, there's only 2 playoff spots left. The Lions need hope. They're not going to get it. The Colts need hope. They have a possibility, but I don't think they're going to get it. Though they're 1 game behind the it's possible. It's possible, in all honesty. But I just, with the way things are standing right now, I just don't see. I don't see how anything's changing with this playoff picture. Even if Miami wins out, I don't think they're gonna ultimately take anybody's spots because the Texans, Buffalo, somebody would have to lose out, and the Dolphins would have to win out in order for them to make the playoffs. I don't see that happening. Baltimore just has to win the division against Pittsburgh to make the playoffs. They don't have the tiebreak over anybody, so they wouldn't get a wild card spot. And the Colts have to win out against divisional foes. With the way things are looking, they're not winning out. So I think the Colts are going to miss the playoffs and the Dolphins are going to miss the playoffs. The Ravens are the only team that's left that can clinch a playoff spot, and they have to beat out the Steelers to clinch the AFC North. Meanwhile, in the NFC, I think it's the exact same thing. The Lions have lost way too many games in a good conference this year. The Lions they got swept by the Packers. The Niners and Seahawks have better records than them by multiple games, and they're not about to just blow it. And then the Bears and the Eagles, again, have better records. I just don't see a scenario where the Lions could win out, and potentially somebody can lose out. Let's just say Green Bay right now, the possibility of them losing out is here now. Micah Parsons might have torn his ACL. They may be on the down low. So it's possible Detroit, even without the tiebreaker, can sneak in. If Green Bay loses a few games, they lost to Denver today. I don't know who the Packers got next week. Let me look at this. Let me look at the Packers next week. Oh, my God. Let me go to some of these. Let's look. Let's go right here. The Packers, Green Bay they've got the Bears next week, so they're gonna be fighting with them for the division. They got Chicago, Baltimore, and Minnesota to end the season. I see 2-1, if not 3-0. So I don't see a scenario where the Packers are going to lose out enough. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Lions to end the season off, the Lions, their final 3 games, they have the Steelers. Please win that game. The Steelers, the Vikings, and the Bears. So a path is technically there for the Lions to make the playoffs, but they're so far out right now that they gotta hope the Micah Parsons injury. They gotta hope the Micah Parsons injury just devastates the Packers and ruins their season, because that was their Super Bowl hopes. They traded for Micah, and now he may be out for the year. So the Lions gotta hope that devastates the Packers and the Packers lose out. That's the only way the Lions make the playoffs. The Panthers and the Bucks are going band for band to see who can win this division. The AFC South has been, the AFC South. The NFC South has been just as bad as the AFC North. You got 2 7-7 teams in the Green Bay Packers. Not Green Bay. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? You got 2 7-7 teams in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Carolina Panthers that are competing for that division. On the flip side, you got a 7-6 team and a 7-7 team in the AFC North that are competing for the final playoff spot. I don't think the playoff spot's going to change in the AFC. It may change in the NFC if Green Bay loses out and Detroit wins out. But I don't know. So I think our playoff matchups are set in terms of who, not matchup. I think our playoff teams are set. You look at it right now, Chicago's got a 73% chance of making the playoffs. Eagles got a 95% chance. Buccaneers, 77% chance. Well, Buccaneers, they're fighting with the Panthers. So yeah, Bears, 73. Eagles, 95. Seahawks, 99 and are going to win it. Rams already clinched a playoff spot. They're in the postseason now. Niners, 97%. Packers, 87%. I don't think anything's going to change here. Meanwhile, Broncos in the playoffs. Patriots, 99%. Jaguars, 97%. Chargers, 92%. Bills, 99%. Texans, 95%. Yeah, I think AFC just comes down to the Ravens and Steelers. It's just that. It comes down to the Ravens and Steelers. I can't tell which Ravens team is going to show up. Yeah, we don't know. NFC looks set. It's just the AFC. Kevin, you're right about that. I think the only thing that may be different is the Packers. They just lost Micah Parsons potentially for the year. That could devastate them. If that does happen, Detroit can sneak in and take the 7th seed. But that's only if the Packers are devastated by the injury. That's ultimately the case. If they're not devastated by the injury and they're able to win out, yeah, they're going to win the division. If they're not able to win out, it's over. So I think it comes down to how the Packers defense is going to be affected by the Micah Parsons loss. But for the AFC, it just comes down to the Ravens and Steelers. Everybody else is going to make the playoffs. The Colts are on a downward spiral. Daniel Jones tore his ACL. He's done for the year. And the Dolphins, they got to hope for 15 miracles. That they're not going to get 15 miracles. They may get 5, but they're not getting 15 miracles. Dolphins season's over. Colts season's probably over. Ravens have to beat out the Steelers for the AFC North. If not, Pittsburgh will get a home playoff game. So yeah, NFC, it comes down to Buccaneers versus Panthers and Packers versus Lions. Everything else is cooked. AFC, it comes down to the Ravens and Steelers. So be on the lookout for that. But with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for this recap. We talked about the Ravens dominating the Bengals. Their season is still alive. They got 3 more games left to play. And if the Ravens are able to win their final 3 games, they will make the playoffs. It comes down to that. It comes down to that. If the Ravens win their final 3 games, they win the AFC North, they'll host a playoff game, and they'll probably have to play the Buffalo Bills. So it comes down to that, man. The NFL definitely doesn't want the Steelers in the playoffs. With no Mahomes and no Burrow, yeah, I don't think they'd be interested in having no Lamar as well. So yeah, they probably want the Ravens to make it in. But the Ravens have been so inconsistent, who knows what happens. But hey, Pittsburgh, if they lose to Miami and lose to Detroit, they may just end up handing the division. Ravens got competition ahead. New England and Green Bay. Yeah, they do. So that's just how things go. But if they're going to do anything in the playoffs, they have to beat teams over 500. I don't think the Ravens have beaten one team over 500 this year. And that team that they beat over 500, that was with Lamar. That was with Tyler Huntley. So the Ravens have not beaten a single team over 500 with Lamar Jackson this year. I'm sure that's going to be narratives that are going to get pushed for that. Which, I mean, I don't really care about the narratives. Yeah, looking at this, yeah, I mean, all the other teams that were over 500, we lost to, and the one team that was over 500 that we beat were the Bears, and people already look at that team as fraudulent. Yeah, we beat the Browns; they weren't over 500. We beat the Bears; they were. Dolphins are under 500. Vikings under 500. Browns under 500. Jets under 500. Bengals under 500. We haven't beaten a single team above 500, and now they're going to face off against three teams that will probably, well, two teams that will be above 500 in the Patriots and the Packers. So, yeah, I mean, if they're going to make the playoffs, they have to beat two playoff teams and a team they may end up seeing in the postseason in the New England Patriots. So they got to beat two teams over 500 and then beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh to win the division. At the end of the day, I mean, if they can't win these games, they don't deserve to make the playoffs. You're going up against playoff teams to try to clinch a playoff spot to make the playoffs. You can't win these type of games, you're just not going to make the playoffs. You don't deserve to make the postseason if you can't beat teams above 500. It's as simple as that. So we'll see what happens. This feels like 2012. That's the only level of optimism Ravens fans can hope for. They got to hope it feels like 2012. It can feel like 2012. It don't mean it's going to be 2012. I mean, you can hope it's like 2012. You can act and pretend that this is like 2012. You can say the vibes feel like 2012. Doesn't mean it's 2012. For all we know, this team goes 1-2 their last three games and they miss the postseason. For all we know, they go 2-0 and then they lose that game week 18 to the Steelers and the Steelers win the division and make the playoffs. We don't know how things are going to go. They have to go 3-0. If it helps, Lamar's never lost a Lamar's never lost a football game past week 15. He's 11-0. In games week 15 and onward, Lamar has never lost a football game week 15 and onward. He is 11-0 in his career when it comes to games week 15 and onward. So he has to go make it 14-0 in order for them to make the playoffs. They know they control their own destiny. They're not sitting here praying for a miracle. They don't need miracles. They need to do their job. The Ravens don't need miracles. They don't need help from any other team. The Ravens have to do their job and win these final three games to make the playoffs. They don't need to be handed an AFC North title. They could take it themselves if they can win their final three games. And it starts with New England on Sunday night. So, I mean, the ball's in their court. The ball is in their court. All right? I mean, they have opportunities here. They embarrassed themselves against the Bengals. They blew it against the Steelers. Now you got to play from behind once again. The opportunity is here. Like, legitimately, it's all in front of them. One of my thoughts on John Cena's final match last night. I was there for the match. The emotions were heavy in that arena. I ain't gonna lie. I was watching. There were people that were next to me that were crying. There were people next to me that were crying. There was real tears. Everybody was in shock when Cena tapped. I was in shock too. I wasn't surprised that he lost. I was surprised that they made him tap. We talked about that. We were like, pre-match, we're just sitting there waiting. And we were like, what are the odds that Cena loses this? And we're like, it's about 50-50. And then we're like, what are the odds that he taps? And we're like, that's probably not going to happen. Either he fails to kick out and they get a 3 count, or it could be some crazy storyline where he doesn't tap and he just loses consciousness. And it's just like, okay, well, he lost the match, but he never gave up. We thought that was one of the two things were going to happen. If he wasn't to win the match, either it's a 3 count or he just loses consciousness without tapping out. But he tapped out, and everybody, I don't think wrestling fans have been that shocked since the streak got broken. When Brock Lesnar broke the streak, when he broke Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, the amount of shocked faces everywhere just stunned people. I haven't seen that emotion from WWE fans since that time. When Cena tapped, the emotions in that state, in that arena, crazy. I'm looking around. I'm like, dog, people are screaming. They're pissed. When Triple H came out, man, they were booing him. They were just screaming, you effed up. By the way, they're going to have to edit a lot of that stuff out. There was so much swearing in that arena, man. There was so much swearing. They're going to have to censor so much crap. They're going to have to edit a bunch of stuff out because they were swearing the entire time. It was nasty work. But yeah, it is what it is. Now, the thing about it is everyone's getting on Triple H's case for this, but there's a good chance that Cena's the one that ultimately wanted this to be. Like, everyone's just assuming Triple H is the one that made the decision to say, all right, Cena, you're going to lose this match and tap. Hear me out. Cena was even talking about this. To get some closure here, what if Cena's the one that came up with the idea to tap? I'm not saying that's the case, but would you be surprised if Cena's the one that came up with the idea for my final match? I'm going to tap here. Let me tap. I'm going to fight to the end, and then I'm going to tap. If Cena's the one that made that decision, how do the fans feel about that? Because Cena if he chose, because this is his final match, if he willingly chose to tap, and he said, that's what I want for my ending, can you be mad? That's what he wanted. If Triple H made that decision, fine. If that, you can be pissed off as much as you want. If Cena made that decision, you can't say nothing about it. That was the choice he made. If Cena said, I want to do this for the sake of the company because that's just the right thing to do. If Cena made the decision, y'all can't be mad at it. If Triple H made the decision, fine. Feel how you want to feel. That's all I got to say about that. There's a high possibility he's the one that ultimately made that call. So it is what it is. What are my thoughts on the Mahomes injury and the Chiefs as a whole? I said this at the beginning of the video. Well, not video, at the beginning of the live stream. Not this one, the first live stream that I did that got cut off. I said this at the beginning of the live stream. Prayers up to Mahomes. Tough process to go through. Rehab is going to be tough. Prayers up. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the Chiefs, this is the end of this iteration of the Chiefs. And they were arguably the second greatest dynasty we've ever seen. 8 straight AFC Championship game appearances. Was it 8 straight? 7 straight or 8 straight? One of the two. So 8 straight AFC title game appearances. 5 Super Bowl appearances. 3 titles. Arguably the second greatest dynasty we've ever seen. Patriots number 1, Chiefs number 2. You got 3 rings out of this era. If that's all you get from Mahomes, you can live with it and be fine with it. But in terms of this iteration of the Chiefs, that trio of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed, that time is up. Kelsey's probably going to retire after this year, or he may come back next year because he doesn't feel comfortable with how things ended this year. So he might be back next year. But I think this era of them competing with what they have right now is over. It's done. I think you got to look to change the coaching staff too. And then when it comes to Andy Reid, what does he want to do? Does he want to stay? Should they keep him? Does he have something left, or is it time for him to finally retire? I don't know. Either way, I think this era of the Chiefs dynasty comes to an end here, and they now have to look to move forward past this. So best of luck to them on that, but, there's nothing we can do about it now. The dynasty's over, and now you got to move forward and figure out what to do next. Hell of a run. The second greatest dynasty we've ever seen. Patriots was the greatest dynasty we've ever seen. The second greatest dynasty we've ever seen is this. Hey, Real, I'm finally done. I'm tired. I'm tired too, man. I am tired as well, and I am getting ready to sign off. But yeah, if this is the end of the Chiefs dynasty, second greatest dynasty we've ever seen, shout out to them. I wish it wouldn't have been a Mahomes injury, but that's just how things went. I hate late season injuries. Yeah, I agree. Especially when it's a late season injury that revolves a season-ending injury. Tearing your ACL in December, he may be good to go for September next year, but it's a late season injury. Season's almost over. We got 3 games left, and he's out for the year now. It's unfortunate for the Chiefs. Very unfortunate. 9 straight AFC West titles. That's true. Then again, they had that before. Oh, you just got off work? Oh, yeah, well, hey, man, go rest up. I'm getting ready to end the stream, so go rest up. Enjoy the rest of your night, man. 9 straight AFC West titles. Yeah, they had that even before Mahomes got that. They got that. They won it in 2016 and 2017 with Alex Smith, and then he comes in. Am I streaming tomorrow? Probably, because tomorrow, we're not doing a therapy session tomorrow. I actually want to talk about everyone's playoff chances. The AFC is wide open now that Kansas City's eliminated, so I think everybody in the AFC has a chance to go on a run. I have a pick that I think is going to win the AFC. It's not the Buffalo Bills. I don't buy into that team. I buy into Josh Allen and James Cook. I don't buy into that team at all. At all. At all. Devontae Adams got hurt? I did not know that. Huh. Hopefully he's okay. I don't know. I didn't know about that. I know about Mahomes. I know about Micah. We were talking about it here. We talked about the injuries that were happening around the league, but I didn't know about the Devontae one. But yeah, I think everybody has a good chance in the AFC to at least take a shot and go for it. The AFC's wide open. But yeah, I do have a pick in the AFC. It's not the Ravens and it's not the Bills. But I have my pick to make the Super Bowl. I also have my dark horse team to make the Super Bowl. Again, it's not the Ravens and it's not the Bills. I buy into Josh Allen. I buy into James Cook. I don't buy into the Buffalo Bills. That defense is going to cost them. And I'll tell you this right now. They don't want smoke with Houston in the playoffs. Josh, I'm not going to tell you who my pick is. Tune in tomorrow. I've been talking about them the last month. Tune in tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you who my pick is. I'm not going to tell you who my dark horse is. But tune in tomorrow for the stream, and we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I don't buy into the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills fans are going to delude themselves into believing they're going to get it done. They don't want to see Houston in the playoffs. They don't. They don't want to face off against that defense. What needs to be said is that if Allen is not Superman and James Cook can't dominate in the run game, they're done. That defense stinks. The Bills' defense is awful. The Bills' defense is awful. It's not good. They make plays. You make the comeback because you've got Josh Allen and James Cook. But that defense is not good. And it will cost them in the playoffs. Yeah, I am a Ravens fan. But just because I'm a Ravens fan doesn't mean I'm going to pick my team to win the Super Bowl. Did you not look at the title of my channel? It's called Keeping It Real. I can sit here and be a biased Ravens fan and say, we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to go on a run. It's going to be like 2012. But it's my job to be honest here. The Ravens have played inconsistent football all season long. If you can guarantee me that the Ravens are going to play the way the Ravens played today against the Bengals, the way that defense shut down Burrow and Chase in that offense, if you can guarantee me the Ravens are going to play like this for the rest of the year, make the playoffs, and play like that in the postseason, I'll take the Ravens to win. I will. But I'm not going to sit here and lie. The Ravens have been an inconsistent football team all year. They got the Patriots, the Packers, and the Steelers to finish off the year. I'm not sure they win all three of those games. And even if the Steelers stumble and hand the division to Baltimore, I'm not sure they get out of the wild card round. Baltimore is 3-5 at home. They will have a home playoff game. And with the way things are looking, Buffalo is set up to come to Baltimore for the wild card round if Baltimore wins the division. The Ravens have not shown me anything for pretty much the entire year that would make me sit back and believe this team can go on a run. So it don't matter if I'm a Ravens fan. I can be realistic about my team. I can be realistic about how things are going around the league. As a Ravens fan, I could do my due diligence, be biased, and say the Ravens are going to win out. They're going to make the playoffs. And it's going to be like 2012. They're going to go on a run. What's going to happen is they're going to win in the wild card round. They're going to host a wild card game, this time against the Bills, maybe against the Chargers. They'll win, and then there'll be a repeat of 2012. They'll go to Denver, who'll be the number 1 seeded team. They'll beat them. They'll go to New England, who'll be the number 2 seed. They'll beat them. They'll make the Super Bowl and win. I can make that bias claim. I could. As a Ravens fan, I can make that bias claim. And as a Ravens fan, I hope we do that. I want to see this team win a championship, but I have to be honest. That's why it's my job to keep it real. The Ravens have not been consistent all year. They've shown you nothing this year that will make you buy into the team. They were terrible defensively to start off the year, and they were elite offensively. Now they're decent, or at least somewhat good defensively, and they've been inconsistent offensively. The turnovers. They have not played coherent football as a team. Today was the first day they actually looked like a team that could play together. Today was the first day that the Ravens offense and defense was in sync and played well together. For damn near 60 minutes. The only mistake that was pretty much made was the interception that went off of the hands of Zay Flowers. And that's a Zay Flowers thing. That's not the offense. That's on Zay Flowers. Like, I'm just being realistic here. The Ravens haven't been consistent. So I can't lie and be like, well, my team's going to get it done. They haven't been consistent. Consistency is what matters to me when you're heading into the playoffs. If you're not a consistent football team, how can I trust you to do anything in the postseason? Now, if you're consistent, you make the playoffs and you lose and you choke, that's on you. But I'm assessing you based off of the season. So no, nothing from the Ravens this year have showcased to me that they're going to go on a run. I hope they do, but nothing from the season makes me think they're going to. We'll just have to wait and see. Can the Bills still win the division? Yeah. They're a game behind them. They split. They split with the Patriots, and they're a game behind them. If Baltimore, I think they also, let me see. I think the Patriots will probably still hold the tiebreaker because I think they have a better divisional record. Let me see. The Bills, the Patriots have suffered 2 losses this year. One was early on in the season, I think, to the Steelers. And then, let me see. The Bills lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Dolphins. They have 2 divisional losses. Meanwhile, the Patriots suffered their first divisional loss against the Bills today. So, New England and Baltimore face off against each other next week on Sunday Night Football. The Bills, they lost to the Raiders, the Steelers, and now the Bills. So, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Jets, and they beat the Bills that first time. The Patriots are 3-1 in the division, and the Bills are 2-2. So if New England somehow loses to the Ravens on Sunday Night Football, and the Buffalo Bills win, because they got the Cleveland Browns next week, so the Bills are gonna smoke the Browns. Bills smoke the Browns, they're gonna go to 11-4. If the Patriots lose on Sunday Night Football to the Baltimore Ravens, they'll fall to 11-4. They'll be tied with the Buffalo Bills, but the Bills have a better divisional record, so they'll have the tiebreaker. Other than that, they're 1 game behind. So yeah, the Bills can still win the division. It just depends on how things go down the stretch between the Patriots and the Bills in their final 3 games. I almost got emotional when they did the tribute video for Cena and when he left his armband and shoes in the middle of the ring. Yeah, it was an emotional moment there. People were crying. Do the Dolphins have a small chance to win in Pittsburgh tomorrow night? I mean, I don't know. 2 in poor weather conditions is horrible. If you lean on the run game, maybe you got a shot, but I don't really trust 2 in poor weather. But who knows? They got a shot to win, but I don't know how much you trust the Dolphins in cold weather. Last time Dolphins won a game where the weather was under 40 degrees was Christmas 2016 in Buffalo. That's a long time. Even without Parsons, you think we lose to the Packers? Possibly. Do you trust our offensive line? How do you think our defense is going to do against Jordan Love? I mean, if Jordan Love puts up a stinker, that would be a perfect time. It'd be very convenient if Jordan Love has one of his stinkers against Baltimore. It'd be very convenient. But do you think our front seven? Do you think our offensive line is going to hold up against the Packers front 7 even without Micah Parsons? How much do you trust the Ravens' offensive line? That's the number 1 question. How much do you trust their offensive line? Because I need you to understand they have an elite run defense. So we're going to have problems running the ball even with Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. We have a weak offensive line going up against a really good run defense team, and they're going to be putting the pressure on Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell all day. If Lamar, that's 2 weeks away. If Lamar is back to 100%, if he gets back to being able to move around the way we know Lamar Jackson can move around, and his legs become a threat again, that opens things up for the run game because they'll have to put emphasis on him. But yeah, I don't know. Hope you guys come through versus New England. Really want that 2 seed. Hey, we'll see how things go. But yeah, like I said, with the AFC, I have my dark horse team and I have my Super Bowl pick. It's not the Bills and it's not the Ravens. The Ravens have been so inconsistent this year, you can't trust them. And the Buffalo Bills fans can continue to delude themselves. They really can. Their team's not good. Josh Allen and James Cook are heavily carrying that offense. Their defense stinks. Look at this. Seriously, look at these games. They beat the Patriots 35-31. They beat the Bengals 39-34. They beat the Buccaneers 44-32. Look at these defensive performances. Look at this defensive performance. You gave up 40 to the Ravens week 1. Let's look at it. 40 to the Ravens, 10 to the Jets, 21 to the Dolphins, 19 to the Saints, 23 to the Patriots in the first matchup, 14 to the Falcons, 9 points to the Panthers. Some of these are good. 21 points to the Chiefs, You lost 30-30. You gave up 30 points to the Dolphins, 32 to the Buccaneers, 23 to the Texans in the game you lost. You gave up 7 to the Steelers. Actually, that's a pretty dominant performance right there. You gave up 34 points against Joe Burrow, and you just gave up 31 to the Patriots. The Bills' defense is not good. The Bills' defense is not good. It's not good at all. Yeah, the Dolphins don't do well in frigid temp conditions. Neither does Tua. But yeah, I'm not a believer in the Bills. Even with Kansas City dropping out, I'm not a believer in the Bills. Josh Allen and James Cook are doing a heavy carry job. If it wasn't for these two, the team's record right now would be significantly worse. But I'll tell you for a fact, the Bills don't want to see the Texans in the playoffs. They don't want that smoke. They don't. And the funny part about it is, if Houston wins the division, that game is going to be in Houston. And I don't think they want to go back there and play. The Buffalo Bills are a better home team than road team. They may have to play on the road. Feel how you want to feel about it. I'm not a believer in the Bills. I'm a believer in Josh Allen. I'm a believer in James Cook. I don't believe in the Buffalo Bills. I think even without the Chiefs being here, they're still not going to make the Super Bowl. And I think if they don't make the Super Bowl this year, you have to fire Sean McDermott. Because there's no way, there's no Chiefs in the playoffs, and you can't get out the AFC if you're the Bills. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't see it at all. I don't see the Ravens making that in the AFC either. In fact, if they make the playoffs, they're going one and done, probably the Buffalo. So yeah, I think Buffalo and Baltimore are not making it to the Super Bowl. I have my pick, and I have my dark horse team. So we'll see what happens. But with that being said, guys, it is time to end the stream here. We did about 2 hours today. Not bad. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, Tuesday. Just depends on what happens tomorrow. But we'll be back tomorrow because we have to talk about these playoff chances for everybody in the league, specifically with the AFC. AFC's wide open. NFC's still wide open, but, I mean, we know the Rams are going to take it, right? By the way, I'm not even hiding it. The Rams are my Super Bowl pick. They've been my Super Bowl pick for quite some time now. I said the Rams were the biggest threat to the Eagles last year. They were. I came into the season saying the Rams are still the biggest threat to the Eagles this year. They are. And now that they have the number 1 seed, I don't see how the Rams are not going to make the Super Bowl. They're going to win this conference. They just got to make sure they stay healthy. But they're going to win this conference, and Stafford's probably going to win MVP. So the Rams are my pick, but I do have a dark horse team in the NFC as well, and we'll talk about them. I got a dark horse team for the NFC. I got my AFC Super Bowl pick, and I got my AFC dark horse, and then I got my NFC Super Bowl pick, and I got my NFC dark horse. And it's not really a surprise who my dark horse is, but we'll talk about this all tomorrow. We will discuss this tomorrow. Monday Night Football will be happening. We'll talk about everybody's playoff chances and the storylines and everything. So we'll speak on this tomorrow. But I'm going to end things here. I'm going to cut it off here tonight. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I got work in the morning, and I ain't trying to waste too much time. I can't be here till midnight, bro. I gotta rest, chillax. So, yeah, it's been a long week. And I'm just ready to get this upcoming week going. Get this week going. Next week will be the week of Christmas. Things will be a lot, less complicated at work. A lot less to do at work because everyone's going to be getting ready to go travel and not really do much. So I'm ready for next week. I'm not ready for this upcoming week at work. But, it is what it is. Then again, I like my job. I actually got a job I like for once, where I actually got a really great job. So I'm actually happy where I'm at, and I don't mind going into work. But, you're still going to be tired after working a long day. So it is what it is. With that being said, guys, I am going to end the stream here. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I will see you guys tomorrow. And tomorrow we will break this down and talk about everybody's chances to make the Super Bowl and do all this other stuff. I'll talk about my Super Bowl pick. I'll talk about my dark horse Super Bowl team, and we'll go from there. So you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the recap for the Ravens-Bengals game. Ravens win 24-0. They've got 3 games left. They go 3-0 in their final 3 games. They win the AFC North, and they host a playoff game. We will see how things will go down the stretch for the Ravens, but they do control their destiny. As for the rest of the AFC, things are pretty much settled there. We know who's going to make the playoffs. NFC, there's probably 2 spots that are still up for grabs, but we pretty much know who's going to make the NFC playoffs. We'll have to see how things go down the stretch. But with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. We had to cut the stream into 2 parts because the stream couldn't hold up. It is what it is. But If everything's okay, if everything's all right, I will see everybody here tomorrow. So, with that being said, guys, good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Be sure to stay safe.